Okay, this is the topic summary number 8, the civil war's effects on the Southeast. Excellent, Lucia, so nice. Now, let's make a review before where you copied this topic and before we go to the next slide. Let's review the Civil War class. Remember that in the last class of social studies, we talked about the Civil War. Remember, a civil war, it's a war between two groups in one country. Do you remember that? That we talked about that civil war in the last class or not? No, you don't remember? Okay, I got your review. Civil war, it's a war between two groups. Remember that in the United States, the Civil War began in the 1861. Yes, in the 1861. And it was 4 years, class. That war was 4 years that these two groups, they were fighting. They were fighting. Remember that I displayed a map with the two colors. It was the color blue, and if I'm not wrong, the other was color red. That two groups. In the United States, remember, is divided into states. So the Northerns, they were fighting with the Southern states because they have different beliefs, different needs, different points of view, and different way to get money. The economic way that they think it was different. Remember that also we talk about Abraham Lincoln. Who was Abraham Lincoln, class? You know who is that boy? Who was that boy? No. Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States, remember, that helps to end this slavery. Slavery means that people were working against their will. They were forced to work. So these two groups in the Civil War that they were fighting, the North, the Union, they were called the Unions, they were fighting with the South, that they were called the Confederacy. Yes, the Confederate or the Confederacy, because they have different point of view. The Northerns, they oppose to slavery. They think, no, we have to stop slavery. We need to abolish this because of the moral reasons. But the Southerners or the Confederate States, they were saying, no, we need to continue with the slavery. We need to have some slaves working for us. So they don't want to abolish the slavery. They felt that the abolitions of this slavery, it might destroy the economy of them. So that was the Civil War, class. They were fighting because they have different beliefs. The Union, the Northern, they were trying to abolish the slavery, but the Southerners or the Confederate, they say, no, we need to continue using slaves. That was the Civil War, 4 years, remember? 4 years, and Civil War is a war between two groups in the same country. For example, Russia. In Russia, they are fighting with Ukraine. This is not an example of civil war because they are different countries. They must be in the same country. If they are in the same country, yes, we can consider a civil war. Now, let's talk about the Civil War's effects on the Southeast. So we have here the effects, class. The effects. What happened after these 4 years that it lasted, this Civil War? What happened then? Because you know, in the war, they are fighting. A lot of people, they are dying, like you see here in the picture. But what happened after that Civil War? So here we have to remember. Yes, tell me, what is your question?
A civil war is the same of a war.
Yes, it's a war. It's a war. It's a war, but Civil War, it's on the same country.
But the war is the same. Lo que quiere decir es que las guerras y la civil war are the same.
Yes. Guerras, war, and civil war es una guerra civil in Spanish.
Pero, what is a civil war?
A civil war. Okay, again, civil war, and I'm going to write here, war is the same of a civil war, but what is the difference? A war, remember that here is in general. You're saying guerra in general, but here is like more specific. Yes, I'm saying that it's a civil war. A civil war, it's a war in the same country. For example, United States. In the United States, there is a war. Just people from the United States, they are in war. No Honduran people, no Nicaragua, no El Salvador, no, just Americans, just in the United States. So in the same country, in this case, the United States, there was a war. It was considered civil war because it was just people from the United States in a war.
La civilización of United States.
Yes, that's right. They were fighting. They were have different opinions. The United States was divided into two groups. And these two groups, they were fighting. So that is a civil war.
Okay. But
Yes.
the definition. ¿Qué significa?
Civil war, that is a civil war. It's a war between two groups in one country.
Okay.
Yes, that is a civil war. That is the definition. It's a war between two groups in the same country.
Okay.
Now, after, excellent, good question. After the Civil War, remember, okay, during the Civil War, there was a time of great suffering. And it says that many people, as I was telling you, many people were dying. Why? Because they were sick. They were sick. Look here. They were dying from wounds or disease that is spread through the war. So they were dying on the streets. A lot of people, they were on the street dying because they were sick of different disease, or they were killed. Or also they were dying because they don't have too much food to eat and also water to drink. Remember that it lasted 4 years. So after these 4 years of fighting, the South surrendered. Many soldiers returned to home to find only ruins. Imagine, after 4 years of fighting, their houses, they were destroyed also. Their houses were destroyed. So the soldiers, when they try to go home to see their families, they just find ruins. So the cities were destroyed, class. Farms have been burned and trampled. So there was, after the Civil War, they need to reconstruct, to rebuild everything, to construct again the houses. So it was a time of reconstruction, class. They find their houses in this way, the cities in this way, because it was a war. It was a war. Everything was destroyed. Look here. Everything was like in isolation. Houses destroyed, class.
Miss, I don't finish to copy that topic.
Okay, later I'm going to display the topics with you. You see? And now,
War affect on Southeast.
in the south and also in the north, both, because they were fighting. So their houses look like this. The cities looks destroyed like this. You see this picture? Now it was a time for reconstruction. But it says the war didn't just change the South physically, class. Remember that the winners, we can say that the winners of this war was the Northern, because they ended slavery thanks of the President Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln helps to abolish the slavery. So the South, we can say that the Northerns, the Union, they were like the winners, we can say. But it says that also it changed the Southern society. This war changed the Southern society. Remember that in the South, the conference, they believe that slavery shouldn't be abolished because that helps with the economy. With this, with the conference soldiers, since one of the conference soldiers died in the war, the way that you see those things, it changed. Many families lost sons or fathers or both. Look here, just the boys. And what are the girls doing? They are helping. In those times, girls didn't work like now that you see, the girls were working in different places. They were just serving the boys, that they were the only one that works. Now, the life of them was changing. It was a sad times for these people because they were dying, these boys. And also it says the greatest change in the South came with the end of slavery. After all this, 4 years that they were fighting and these people were dying, then they decided also to change the way that they perceive and see the things. And with the end of slavery, the life of them changed, class. You see here, it says after the end of the Civil War in the 1865, the United States government passed the 13th Amendment. Remember it, amendment we see in the second partial of social study, I think. The amendment, it means a change in the Constitution. So the 13th Amendment, the 13th change in the Constitution in the United States says to abolish slavery. It looks like in this way, class. Former slaves became new American citizens. That's a good news. They don't were no more slaves. They become citizens of the United States of America with the abolition of the slavery. It says here the information, and you see the people that signed here in those times. Then the South dance, because it was destroyed many places, but more the place that was more destroyed was in the South dance. So there was a time of reconstruction, remember, after the 4 years of the Civil War. So they start building their economy, rebuilding their houses. So it lasted this year from 1865 to 1877. They start planting crops, they start rebuilding their houses, and factory owners rebuild their factories. Rail lines were repaired. So these people in those times, they were reconstructing everything that it was destroyed during the war. So then it says that the government was helping also and established a bureau in the 1865. For a time, it provided food, clothing, and medical care for slavers. Remember, they were slaves. So that government needs to help these people that they become later citizens. And also it helps to rebuild more than 1,000 schools for African Americans. Why African Americans? Remember, the slaves were people that they were Black. The slaves on those times, it was for the color of the skin. If they were Black, they were slaves. If they were white, they can be citizens. Now, we don't see that fast. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, we are the same people. Not just because one person is Black must be a slave of others. No, right? That was just in those times. So the government provides food, clothing, education, and job training to free slaves. So they don't were more slaves, they become citizens. During these reconstructions also, there were like another change that we can say in the civil rights, because before that, they cannot vote. They cannot vote because they were slaves and also they were Black people. But then after this Civil War and after all this reconstruction and all these amendments, these changes in the 13th Amendment, they have a civil right. What was the civil right? The right to vote and have protections for the law. So equal rights for all, they were saying that. It was like these people, they were like having a new life because now they have the right to vote and not to be discriminated because of the color of their skin. So African American, they have civil rights as the other people that were in the United States because they were no more slaves, class. Yes? Okay, here we have more information. And also it says here, well, okay, help me to read this slide. Who wants to help me to read this slide? Okay, let's see. Okay, Lucia and next Khaled. Lucia raised the hand before.
Many former slaves remained on the farms of landowners. Because,
Landowners.
because many had skills for other jobs and no land of their own to farm. Most farmers slaves lying in poverty. Many landlords tried to keep African Americans in a condition very close to slavery. After 1877, many Southwestern states enforced Jim Crow laws. These laws separate black people from white people on buses, in schools, and in other public places. This separation is known as segregation.
Thank you. Excellent, Lucia. What happened in this class? After all of this, even though they have the civil rights and all these changes, it says that many landowners try to keep African Americans in a condition very close to slavery. They were free of slavery, but they don't have enough money. They were living in poverty. They were poor people because they were slaves. Then they become poor people. And some of these people, they take advantages of them, but they give just like a different point of view of the slavery now as a poverty. And it says these laws, after this, the 1877, many southern states enforced the Jim Crow laws. What is this laws about? It separated black people from white people on buses. Imagine that class, that there were buses just for black people, another bus just for white people. In the schools, they cannot be, if they were black, they cannot be with the white people in the same school. That is called segregation. Segregation is to separate the people because of the color of the skins, of religion, or any differences that they have. So they were separated because of the color of the skin in this case, because they were black, they need to be in another bus, they need to be in another school, and in a different public place that they were not white people. In those times, it was so difficult for this type of people class. Now, we can live with them. We don't do that. You see, look at here. White only maids in uniform accepted, it says. In the public places, it was like this information. Segregated schools must stop now. They were fighting against to abolish this. It was like this. Color section, just black people can be seated here because they will have color. That is discrimination. And those times, a lot of people suffer discrimination class. And they were in a protest. Don't treat our children like prisoners. They were fighting, even the kids that you see here. We protest school segregation because they want their kids go to the same school of the white people, not just for the color of the school or the skin to be separated. Khaled, tell me.
Do you imagine the president, the skin are brown, are black? Do you imagine that?
Yes, so the president that in those times, the president, they were just white people as a president. But now you see that Barack Obama was president of the United States, he was black. Because those times they were in the past. Now we have a new story. They have a new story. Now we're going to watch a video, but let's see we have time at the end because we need to copy this question and answer. So if we finish, we have time. If not, I'm going to try to display this video in the next class. So let's copy the 6th question and the 6th answer.
Read the topic.
The topic. Let me write it down the chat. What is the topic?
The Civil War's effects on the Southeast.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to send through the chat.
What? Okay,
There you have that topic. If you didn't copy the topic, if you didn't finish, you can copy from the chat. Now, question number 1. Why was the Civil War a time of great suffering for people in the Southeast class? Why? Why do you think it was a time for suffering?
Lost everything. The houses.
Excellent. Remember, they have little food and they lost everything. Many of them were dying because some of them they have different disease. How did the Civil War change the South people? This is like related to the answer that you're saying, Khaled. They end the slavery. Remember, the Southerners, they were believing on the slaves, but after the Civil War, the slavery ends and many families lost their sons and fathers because just boys can go to the war. Girls, they were not allowed to go to the war. As a soldiers, but they were in the war. Number 3, when did the Civil War end? Who remember the date that it ends?
I finished.
Finished? What is the answer number 3? When did the Civil War end?
In 4 years.
Okay, in 4 years. So it ends in the 1865. Remember that it started in the 1861 and it lasts 4 years. So it ends in the 1865. What does Reconstruction mean? What does that mean? 4 years, yes. What does Reconstruction mean? What does it mean?
What does mean reconstruction? ¿Qué significa reconstrucción? I don't know.
You don't know what does it mean, reconstruction? Okay, remember that is a period of time after the Civil War. That is reconstruction. That period of time after the Civil War because they start building, rebuilding everything one more time. Because everything was destroyed during the Civil War. So they need to reconstruct everything, to rebuild and to crop one more time. Now, number 5, how long did the reconstruction last? How many years, class? How many years do you think that it lasts, the reconstruction? 1 year? Do you think in 1 year they reconstruct everything, their houses also?
20.
2, 20?
No, no.
It lasts from the 1865 to the 77. How many years there are there, class?
2 years.
2 years? Do you think that there are 2 years from
No.
this? No, there are more than 2 years. From the 65 to the 77, how many years are in this time? 12?
12 years.
12 years, that's right. So it lasted 12 years. 12 years they were building everything. So the person that says like 20, it was close because it was 12. Not 20, but it was like 12. In 1 year, you cannot reconstruct. 2 years, neither. The last one, how did the Southeast change during Reconstruction? The last question.
I think. How did the South change during Reconstruction? ¿Cómo hizo la parte oeste para cambiar la duración de la reconstrucción?
Here we have the answer. The Southern states were readmitted to the USA government. The African American Civil Rights Movement began, and the Black people were segregated. Remember that they were fighting because they ended the slavery, but they still have like, they were like discriminated because of the color. So the African American Civil Rights Movements began for that reason. And they were segregated and they start fighting because they don't want to be segregated. Remember, segregated means that they were separated white people from color people or Black people. They were separated from white people. Okay, so we're going to copy this. We don't have time, so the video is going to be next class, and I'm going to share also the video on Schoology. Once you finish, show me your notebooks and you can disconnect. Isabella, tell me, Isabella. We cannot listen to you, Isabella. I don't know if you're speaking.
Miss,
Okay,
para
now.
el experimento que vamos a hacer en Science, ¿por qué no lo hacemos mañana?
Tomorrow, no, we are not going to work because we need to see something before.
Es que iba a ser más complicado porque el jueves tenemos PI a la segunda clase.
Second hour. Yes, but if you have ready the materials, we can start on time at 8 o'clock. We're going to start with that.
You can send to my mom the elements.
The materials, yes, I already sent this through WhatsApp. I'm going to post on Schoology also the materials. Today I'm going to post the materials on Schoology.
Okay. I have the material science.
You have the materials with you. Excellent. Yes, you have these days. That's why we cannot work tomorrow, because you need to look for the materials these days. And so on Thursday, everybody must be with the materials.
Es que yo también digo that is difficulty to do that.
But tomorrow you have Spanish after science. So it's the same. You have one class. After
Yes.
science, tomorrow you have science. Science, you
Okay.
have Spanish. Thank you, Kiara. Excellent. Bye-bye,
Yes,
Lucia.
but-
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Es más complicado.
No.
Clean
No.
the desorden.
No, we're going to finish on time. Don't worry. Don't worry. Just have ready the materials that we're going to finish on time, and then you prepare yourself for PE.
Yo lo que haría